Oh my goodness, it's great to see you guys again. Thank you for joining me. It's your friend the Gunman here from my studio in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you so much for joining me for today's daily dose of good news. Dose. An appropriate word for today's good news. Now, this is another tidbit that I came across when I was doing my research for good news posts for you guys, and I think it's fascinating. If you're like me, you're a fan of the TV show Shark Tank. I think it's wonderful seeing all these entrepreneurs, these up-and-comers coming up with these great ideas. It's really so much in line with the American spirit of inventiveness and stick-to-itiveness, another great term. Today's good news has to do with my favorite Shark Tank judge, Mr. Mark Cuban, based out of Dallas. Now, Mark is always at the front line of new and exciting ideas, and he's more motivated by concepts that will improve masses of people than making little minor changes. And today it's pretty awesome. He was on Shark Tank one day as a judge, and a gentleman based out of Dallas as well, a scientist, actually a pharmacist by trade, went on the show and was complaining about the fact that Big Pharma has really throttled the development of drugs and forced drug prices through the roof to where it's basically drugs that are really necessary and needed by so many people are really out of the realm of being affordable for your common man and woman. And he was done with that. And he came up with this concept where as long as he could source the components directly, break free of the restrictions that Big Pharma had had on developers like him, which would require some political muscle, I should say, and some influence that only a guy like Mark Cuban could deliver. If he could go direct to the sources, he wanted to come up with a company that would deliver drugs to the masses that were the most needed, starting with the ones that are most needed first, at a really, really reasonable rate, completely eliminating the Big Pharma stranglehold, the middlemen who always pump things up as far as the price is concerned, the insurance companies that had a racket on this whole thing forever, and truly changed the paradigm. Okay, now he actually took this man's company and they became partners, and the partnership is called Cost Plus Drugs, based out of Dallas, Texas. The first drug that they're working on is called albendazole, I think it's called, and this is an interesting drug because it's an anti-parasitic. Apparently, going back over 100 years, there is something called the hookworm that has been really rampant, especially in low-income environments and homes, because sanitation isn't all that great. But it is a real problem, not just all over the world, but here in the United States as well. And if a person has hookworm, it makes them lethargic. It makes them, no energy. Obviously, intestinal problems. It's a life changer. Okay, they cannot get motivated to do anything. And apparently, there was a drug, this particular drug, that was only made available by Big Pharma, and they would charge $500 a person for a course of this antiparasitic. Now, Mark and his partner were able to make this. It's the first drug going to market from Cuban's Cost Plus Drugs, which made it available for $20. Think about that. Okay, you go from $500 for a course of this to $20. And that shows you how much bloat has been involved in the stranglehold that Big Pharma and Big Pharma's cronies have had on the medications that you and your family need. I just think it's a wonderful thing. Now, Mark Cuban actually donated 10,000 doses of this new drug, or their version of this drug, which is the same drug, just available for far, far less, to Baylor University for a study. 10,000 doses of this. It proved remarkably effective. And this is just the beginning, folks. This is just the beginning of many, many drugs that we all need that I think we've been conditioned to overpay for decades. Way to go, Mr. Cuban. You are definitely an inspiration to me and so many others. And thank you for improving the quality of all of our lives. There are great things happening all over the world, all around you. No matter how much doom and gloom you're being peddled, there are still forces for good that are out there that are working on problems that, honestly, a lot of us have been so conditioned out of realizing we even have, because we're just kind of led to believe, well, that's just the way it is. It doesn't have to be just the way it is. ever. If you know your right from wrong and you actually are somebody who's inspired to make a difference, you can make a difference. So God bless you all on that note. Lots of love to you guys. I hope you got something from this, and I hope you join me again tomorrow for more good news from God. We'll see you soon.